Can you hear my voice or not? Again, repeat. Can you hear my voice or not?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So, shall I start the class?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, today we will learn about pin description of 8086. Okay. So, this is how your 8086 IC looks like. Okay. So, you can see in the pin description diagram that there are a total of 40 pins are there. Okay. Numbered from 1 to 40 here. So total there are 40 pins in your 8086 and their names are given on the right side. These are the names of their pins. Okay. Yeah. Anyways, can you see this picture clearly on your mobiles? Can you see this picture? Can you see the picture? Can you see the picture or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, in today's class, we will learn about pin description of 8086. Okay? Pin description is nothing but how your 8086 IC okay, looks like and how many pins are there in this IC and how they work. Okay? This is what we will learn in the pin description. Okay? So if you see in the diagram, there are total of 40 pins are there. Okay. A total of 40 pins are there in 8086 and their respective names are given on the right side of this diagram. Here on the left side. Okay. These are the names of these pins. Like first pin name is GND. GND stands for ground. Okay. Like that second pin is AD pin. AD pin stands for address and data pins. Okay. And NMI stands for non-maskable interrupt and likewise so on. That we are going to describe today. So, how many pins are there total? Total of 40 pins are there. And the arrangement of these pins is in form of, we call this type of packaging as dual inline package. In the sense, on the left side you will have 20 pins and on the right side you will have 20 number of pins. In the sense, equal number of pins both on the left side as well as on the right side. So this type of IC packaging, we call it as dual inline packaging. Okay. Now, if you observe the diagram here pin number 24 from pin 24 to pin 31, these are the special pins. In the sense, see, pin number 31 pin is RQ by GT as well as hold. So you may be wondering whether this pin will act as RQ or HOLD. Okay. Now it completely depends upon how you are using or how you are configuring your 8086. Okay. So these pins from pin 24 to 31 pins, we call them as special pins. Okay, special pins in the sense they will have special function depending upon the 8086 configuration. Now, what we need to understand is if you are configuring your 8086 okay, as a single processor, then these pins are used. If you are configuring 8086 as a multiprocessor, then you will use this pin. Okay. Depending upon the 8086 configuration, the pin number 24 to 31 operations change. If you are using it as a single processor, in the sense as a minimum mode, then these pins are used instead of QS1 to RQ. If you are using it in a multiple processor mode, that is maximum, then these pins are used instead of these pins. Okay. Is this clear? Is this clear for you? What is minimum mode? Single processor configuration is minimum mode. Multiple processor configuration is maximum mode. So where we use this minimum mode and maximum mode? Suppose that in your application, if you want high performance, then you need to go with multiple processors. Okay? That is nothing but maximum mode. If in your application the performance is not essential, then you can go with minimum mode. In the sense, only one processor in your whole system, minimum mode. If multiple processors in your whole system, then it is nothing but maximum mode. Okay. For instance, let me take another example. In a classroom, now I am the only lecturer. If I am a processor, if I consider myself as a processor, okay, then how many processors are there in your classroom right now? Only one. Nothing but minimum. If two lecturers are teaching simultaneously in the same class, that means it is maximum mode. Multiple lecturers, nothing but multiple processors in a same classroom. Okay. Now let us understand each of these pins individually. Okay. The important thing that you need to observe while studying the pin description of 8086 is that, see, here if you observe all the pin names, there are few pin names on which you will see one bar on top of the name. You can see this thing you need to remember. So, if there is a bar on the signal, these things, we call them as signals, 40 signals are there or 40 lines. So, a bar on the signal indicates that it is an active low signal. In the sense, active low signal, in the sense, it is 0. A 0 on the signal indicates that that particular signal will be active. If 0 is coming on that signal, if 0 is coming on these type of signals, wherever there is a bar, then it means that that particular signal will be active during only 0. If a signal 1 comes on that particular line, then it means that it is an inactive. It is not active. It will perform its operation only if it receives a low signal. Okay? A signal performs its operation only if it gets an active low signal. I am talking about bar on the signal name. Okay? Suppose that here, if you see that on few signals there is no bar, it means that these signals are active or they perform their operation only when they are active high. Only when they are active high. Bar indicates active low, no bar indicates active high. Okay? Depending upon the signal, low or high, they will do their operation. Okay. So now let us start describing each of the pins. So in your 8086, you require total how many data lines? 16 data lines are required, and you require 20 address lines. Okay. So what is done in this 8086 is that instead of using separate 20 address lines and data lines, these two are combined. As you can see in the diagram, AD. AD is nothing but combination of address lines as well as data. So these two are multiplexed as address data line. Okay. So these are from AD0 to AD16. Sorry, AD0 to AD16. So why we are not taking from AD0 to AD19? Why we are not considering from 0 to 19? Why we are taking from 0 to 15? In the sense, you require only how many data lines? How many data lines you require? How many data lines you require?
16.
16.
16. So you can combine maximum of 16 data lines only with the address lines. But how many address lines you require?
20.
So you have an extra 4 lines that you require for sending the address, whereas you require only 16 data lines. That is why we are combining from AD0 to AD15. These combining, we call it as multiplexing. Okay. Combination of two different types of signals is nothing but multiplexing. Okay. So these are multiplexed signals. Multiplexed signals. Okay. So address and data signals that are multiplexed starts from AD0 and ends at AD50. Okay. We call these pins as time multiplexed signal. In the sense, these lines either carry address or data, okay, depending upon the time cycle or time period. Okay, they cannot carry both at the same time. For instance, this is your processor and this is your address data bus. What do you mean by bus? This is a bus. And this is nothing but your memory. A simple interfacing diagram I am showing you. Suppose that this is your 8086 processor. Your 8086 processor is connected with the memory with the help of bus. Bus is nothing but set of lines, okay, that carry information. Okay, it means one line carries one bit information. One bit information in the sense either it can carry a 0 on that line or 1 on that line. So how many lines are there in this bus now? AD0 to AD15. In the sense, a total of, if I show you the internal accurate diagram. So how many lines will be there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Total of how many lines will be there? How many lines will be there on this bus? AD0 to AD15. In the sense, how many lines it will carry? This bus will have AD0 to AD15. How many lines will be there on the bus?
Sixteen.
16 lines are there. Each line will carry one bit, either 0 or 1. Now, if your processor wants to access some location, let us say this particular location. If your processor wants to access this particular location, let us call this location address as this one. If your processor wants to access location 1FFFFH, first, whether it needs to send the address or whether it needs to send the data on this bus, whether the address should be sent first or the data should be sent first in order to access the memory. What needs to be sent? Address or data? If the processor wants to access this particular location, in the sense this address, what the processor need to send on the bus? Address or data?
Address.
The processor needs to send the address on the bus. In the sense, you cannot send both address and data simultaneously at the same time. That is what I want to mean. We cannot send both address as well as data on the same bus at the same time. Okay? So, what needs to be done? At certain time, the address needs to be sent, and at certain time, the data must be sent. Both cannot be available on the same line. Okay? Both cannot be available on the same line. Okay? At some particular time, address is available on this bus, and at some particular time, the data is available on this bus. So, that is the reason why we call them as time multiplexed signal. According to the time, either address is available on the bus or data is available on the bus. So AD0 to AD15 is nothing but a time multiplexed address and data bus in which, okay, during T1 cycle, address is available, and during remaining cycles, T2, T3, TW, and T4, data is available. Okay. So AD0 to AD7, it is nothing but time multiplexed address and data bus, okay, during T1 state, address is available on the bus, and during T2, T3, TW, and T4, data is available on the bus. Okay. So you can observe here, during one time period or one time state, address is available, and during remaining time state, data is available. The T1, T2, T3, TW, and T4 of the time state for one machine cycle. Okay. One machine cycle, okay, is nothing but constitutes of complete 5 time states: T1, T2, T3, TW, T4. Nothing but fetch the instruction, decode the instruction, fetch the operand, some delay, then execute the instruction. Okay. Machine cycle is nothing but time required by the processor in order to access memory or input-output operation. Okay. Machine cycle is nothing but, what is machine cycle? Machine cycle is nothing but, let me, machine cycle is nothing but time taken by the processor for a memory access or to execute one instruction. So how much time it requires? It requires total of 5 timing states in order to access memory. What are those states? Fetch instruction, decode instruction, fetch the operand, wait, nothing but delay, and then execute the instruction. Fetch, decode, execute. Fetch, decode, execute. Okay, like that you need to remember. So during this time cycle, address is available. During this time cycle, data is available. Okay. Shall I continue? Shall I continue or not? Shall I continue or not? Shall I continue or not?
Yes, sir.
The next signals, see, we have completed this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, all these address and data related bits. Now you can see that from number 35 pin to 38 pins, pin 35 to 38, nothing but what are those pins? A19 by S6, A18 by S5, A17 by S4, and A16 by S3. Okay. So now these are the remaining address pins that are used in conjunction with status pins. S pins are nothing but we call them as status pins. S6, S5, S4, S3. Okay. So again, during the T1 state, these pins are used as address pins. Okay. T1 used as T1 used as address pins, and during the remaining time cycle, they will provide the status. What type of status? Let us understand. S5 pin. S5 pin provides the status of interrupt flag. Okay, there is one bit in the flag register, IF bit. So that bit status is provided by this particular pin, S5 pin, and S6 pin is not used. Okay, S6 pin is not used, so no need to worry about this S6 pin. And coming to this S3 and S4 pins, S3, S4 pins, they will provide the status of the segment being used by the processor. In the sense, whether the processor is using the code segment or working on the code segment or using the data segment or extra segment or stack segment. What type of segment is being used by your processor? That particular state, if S3 signal is low and S4 signal is low, it indicates that this particular segment, that is extra segment, is being used by the processor. If S4 line is low and S3 line is high, it indicates that stack segment is being used by your processor. If S4 1 and S3 0, code segment is used. If both are high, it indicates that data segment is being used by the processor. In the sense, S3 and S4 pin provides or indicates the status of the segment that is being used by the processor, whereas S5 is used to indicate the status of interrupt flag in the flag register, and S6 is not used. S6 is not used. In the sense, it is kept at low signal. Okay, it is always a low signal. Remaining signals are always high. If high, then only they will work, because there is no bar that is given on this line. In the sense, these are active high signals. Okay, they provide the status. Now A16, A17, A18, A19. These things are also over. Now coming to this first pin ground and 20 pin ground, they provide the earthing to your 80 H6 processor. And coming to the VCC, here only you will give the power supply. This is the power supply pin. Okay, VCC is nothing but a power supply pin. Now the next one is here BHE bar by S7. Okay, BHE, which type of signal it is? Whether it is a low signal or a high signal? Whether it is a low signal or a high signal? What is given on the BHE signal? High or low? Whether it is a high, you are sending a message. Very good. Okay. In the sense, this is an active low signal. BHE bar is an active low signal. BHE stands for bus high enable signal. It is an active low signal. Now, what is the operation of this signal? Bus high enable, which is an active low signal, is used to know the status of the data that is being transferred on the data bus. Whether the data is transferred on the higher byte address or on the lower byte address. Okay, whether the data is transferring the data on the lower byte data bus or on the higher byte data bus. This is indicated by this particular signal, BHE bar. If it is an active low signal, then it means that the processor is transferring the data on the higher byte data bus. If it is low, it means that the processor is transferring the data on the higher byte data bus. If high on the signal, it indicates that the processor is transferring the data on the lower byte data bus. So ultimately, what I meant to say is that this signal is used to indicate the data transfer on the data bus, on lower data bus or on the higher data bus. So this signal is used with A0 signal in order to indicate whether the data is transferred on the lower byte or on the higher byte. 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 1. So, whole word. See, if the signal is low, in these two conditions, you can see that the data is transferred on the D8 to D15. Whole word in the sense, the total 16-bit data is sent on D0 to D15. In the sense, lower byte, on the lower byte data bus also the data is being sent, as well as on the higher byte data bus also the data is being sent. Total 16-bit data is available on both of these buses. In this case, if this is 0 and if A0 is 1, it indicates that only the processor is sending the data on the higher byte data bus. Okay. If it is high, it means that this bus is inactive. In the sense, no data is being sent on this bus. Okay, na? 0 unte e bus active annattu. In the sense, the data is being sent on this bus. If 1 unte, then it is being sent on this particular bus. So the next thing is this S7. S7 is nothing but it is not at all used. Like S6, S7 is also not in use. Now the next two things here we will come to 17 and 18 pins. 17 and 18 pins. 17th pin is NMI pin and 18th pin is INTR. NMI stands for non-maskable interrupt and INTR stands for interrupt request. Okay. So these are the two interrupt request pins. These two pins are related to interrupt request. Okay. If any interrupt wants to access the processor, then it will send the request to these two pins, NMI pin and INTR pin. The only difference between these two is that even if an interrupt request is hidden or it can be masked, but if any interrupt request comes on this pin, then the processor should give the access to this particular interrupt. Okay. So these are the two types of interrupt request pins. Okay. One is non-maskable in the sense you cannot hide these interrupt, you cannot delay or you cannot neglect. Your processor cannot neglect or cannot mask or cannot hide the request that comes on this pin, whereas the processor can overlook the request that can come on this pin. That is the only difference between these two pins. These two you will understand in more detail when we discuss about interrupts. Okay. For the moment, you just remember these two are the interrupt request pins. Okay. If any interrupt wants to access the processor, it sends the request on these two pins. Okay. These are the active high pins. CLK. CLK stands for clock signal. So to perform various operations, okay, whatever the clock frequency is required, that particular is provided by this clock. Okay. Next thing is here, if you observe, reset. Reset is nothing but in order to reset your 8086, okay, you need to use this pin. You need to hold this reset pin for up to 4 clock cycles in order to reset your processor. Okay, a total of 4 cycles. 4 cycles. The pin should be total of 4 cycles are required to reset the 8086 processor. Once your processor resets, it starts from the address after being reset. It starts from the address F, 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 F. Okay, from this address, okay, your processor will restart, okay, after getting reset. Okay, you want to reset your processor, hold this pin for up to 4 clock cycles. This is the minimum duration. Reset. The next is ready signal. This signal is used by slower peripherals. Slower peripherals as an acknowledgement signal, whether they are ready to send the information or whether they have received the information. That status is given by the peripherals on this line, ready line. Okay. Suppose that I have connected a ready signal. The signal is connected with some, let us say, a peripheral printer. Okay, printer is very slower compared to this processor. The speed of the printer is very slow compared to the speed of processor. Now, you want to take the printout of, let us say, EEE. Okay, the processor will send E to the printer. Okay, so the processor is sending E very fastly to the printer. Now, whether the printer can receive this E at the same time as this processor is sending, it is not possible. So it will take some time. So before this E that has been received by the printer, if this processor sends another E, before first E has been received by the printer, if the processor sends another E, what will happen? Ultimately, the printer cannot take the proper printout. So what needs to be done here? A signal is used. Ready signal. Okay. The processor will wait for this ready signal by the printer. Once this ready signal it gets from the printer, then it will start to send E. It will wait until again a ready signal is sent by the printer. Okay, if the ready signal again is sent to the printer, then it will send another E. Then again it will wait for the ready signal. Again, if the ready signal is sent, then it will send another E. So these are used by the slower peripheral. Like in the classroom, as soon as I enter into the classroom, I will not start the class until the proper type of acknowledgement that I will get from your side. Are you able to understand? Yes, sir. Okay, then I will start. Is this concept is clear? Yes, sir. Then I will continue. So in the same way, this is also used. Okay. Test bar. Next signal is test bar signal. Okay. Test bar signal is nothing but it is an active low signal. Okay, it is an active low signal. So if this is an active low, it means that okay, the processor will continue operation. Okay, if I processor goes into idle state. Okay, whether the processor should continue its operation or whether the processor should go into the idle state, This completely depends upon this rest bus signal. Okay, idle state or execution state. Next one here is RD bar. RD bar stands for read signal. This is an active low signal that indicates that the processor is performing a read operation. Active low signal that indicates processor is performing read operation. Okay, so these are the common pins that are available for both minimum mode and maximum mode configuration. Okay. This is the first category of pins, okay, which are common for both minimum mode and maximum mode. Whatever pins we have discussed till now, these pins are common for both minimum mode and maximum mode. This is the first category of pins. Next pins are pins available for minimum mode configuration. Okay, what are the pins that are available for the minimum mode configuration? These are the pins INTA bar, ALE, DEN, DT by R bar, M by IO bar, WR bar, hold and hold acknowledge. Okay, these are the 7 pins that are available in minimum mode configuration. If you are using the processor in minimum mode, these pins 24 to 31 will be used as like this, not like this, okay, but they are used like this. Now, how these pins work? Let us understand them. Okay, so INTA bar. First, we will start with INTA bar. INTA bar stands for interrupt acknowledged. Interrupt acknowledge signal. INTA bar. Interrupt acknowledged. So this is an active low signal which indicates that your processor has been acknowledged the interrupt request. Okay. So for example, if someone is knocking the door while I am teaching the class, if someone is knocking the door, it means that an interrupt, that person is an interrupt to the class and he is requesting me, okay, to allow him into the classroom. This is an interrupt request. Where he is giving the interrupt request? On the door. Where the peripheral will send the interrupt request here? On INTR or on NMI bar or on NMI pin. Okay. Now it depends upon me whether I will acknowledge, in the sense whether I will permit that particular student to interrupt my class or not. Okay. So if I permit, okay, then it is nothing but acknowledged. If I do not permit, in the sense I am not acknowledging it. So the status, whether the interrupt request has been acknowledged by the processor or not, is given by this pin. Okay. Active low on this pin indicates that the processor has acknowledged the interrupt request. Okay, active low on this pin indicates that your processor has acknowledged the interrupt request. Okay, the next pin is, so this one is also over. The next one is address latch enable, ALE. So ALE stands for address latch enable. Okay. And this indicates a valid address is available. Okay. In the sense, it will demultiplex here. If you see in this diagram, address lines are multiplexed with data lines. To demultiplex them, in the sense, to use them separately as address bus only, this bus is used. It will demultiplex the address from the AD bus. In the same way, DEN bar is also used to demultiplex the data from the address bus. Okay, to demultiplex the address, ALE, to demultiplex the data, DEN. Okay, both are same. ALE, address is demultiplexed, DEN, data is demultiplexed. Okay, so these two pins work in the same way, but on two different things, address and data. Next one is DT by R bar. Okay. In the sense, it will indicate the data flow, whether the processor is sending the data out or receiving the data in. If it is sending the data out, then this signal is high. If it is receiving the data in, then this signal is low. High processor sends data out. Low, you can observe on the R there is a bar, in the sense it is a low signal. Low signal in the sense receiving. High signal in the sense transmitting. Transmitting in the sense sending the data. Receiving in the sense receiving the data. Data transmit, processor sends data out, and low in the sense processor receives data in. Okay. Data out, transmitter, data in, receiver. The next one is this one over. Next one is memory or IO operation. M stands for memory, IO stands for input-output operation. Whether your processor is performing a memory operation or an IO operation, that is indicated by this pin, memory or input output. Okay. High indicates your processor is performing a memory operation. Low indicates that your processor is performing an input output operation. Okay. So depending upon high or low signal, memory and input output operations are identified. Okay. And the next one is WR line. Okay. A active low on the signal indicates that the processor is performing a write operation. Okay. WR stands for write. A low signal on this line, it means that your processor is performing a write operation. Now coming to hold and HLDA. Now these are used in the DMA operation. Hold and hold acknowledge used in DMA. In what? Direct memory access by IO peripherals. See how this is used. It is very simple. If some peripheral wants to access memory without intervention of processor, this is your memory. This is some IO device. This is processor. Okay. If this input output wants to access memory, the general scenario is the IO first sends the request to processor, then the processor will request to memory, then the memory will send the information to the processor, then the processor will send it to the IO. This is the general procedure. Now here, unnecessarily, your processor is hanged between these two things, IO and memory, because IO wants to access memory. So what if the processor directly connects them to the help of DMA controller. Now what is done is the IO will send and request to the processor. I want memory access. This request is sent through a line hold. The IO will send and request to the processor. Hold. It is this IO is sending a request to the processor that I want to access memory, please give me the system bus. I want the system bus so that I can access the memory. So that request is sent to the processor by means of a signal hold. If the processor is ready to give the system bus to this IO, then it will send a signal HLD. Now this relieves the system bus and it is handed over to the DMA for IO and memory operation. Okay. So this is how these two signals works. Hold in the sense if some other peripheral wants to access memory, or if the other peripheral wants the access of system bus, Then an hold signal is sent as a request. Hold acknowledge in the sense the processor has given a system bus access to that particular peripheral. So if any peripheral wants system bus access, the request is being sent on hold line, active high on this line. If the processor is ready to give the system bus, then again the processor will send processor acknowledges with active high signal divide on HLDA. Okay. If your processor is ready to give the system bus, in the sense it is accepting the request, so it will send an HLDA to that particular peripheral. It will work as same INTR, INT, acknowledge, requesting, hold, acknowledging HLDA. Okay, requesting, hold, acknowledging HLDA. So these are the pins that are related to minimum mode. So this one is also. The next one is maximum mode. Pins available in maximum mode. The first two are QS1 and QS0. Okay. These two pins are used to indicate the status of the queue. Status of the queue. Okay. They are used to indicate the status of queue. How many bytes are stored in the queue? Here 8086, how many bytes are stored? In your architecture, I have drawn two diagrams. How many bytes are there? So how many bytes are there? Correct only, Chapandama. How many bytes are there? What is the call that has been done on the queue? That particular status is given by these two lines or two pins, QS1 and QS0. If both are low, in the sense no operation has been performed on the queue. If 01, it means that the first byte of opcode has been fetched by the execution unit. Okay? And if 10, the queue is empty. And if 11, the subsequent bytes after the opcode, whatever comes, that are being fetched by the execution unit. In the sense, overall, this QS1 and QS0 indicates the status of the queue. What type of operation has been performed on the queue? That particular status is given by QS1 and QS0. QS1, QS0. S0, S1, S2. S0, S1. These are the status pins. All are active low. They will indicate the type of operation that is being performed by the processor. Okay. Again, it is a table that I need to draw. So S2 bar, S1 bar, S0 bar, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1. if all these signals are low, it means that your processor has acknowledged the interrupt. Okay. So, okay, if all are 0, it indicates that your processor acknowledged interrupt. If 001, it means that your processor is performing an read of input output, in the sense your processor is reading from IO peripheral. 010, your processor is performing an write operation. 011, it is in halt state. 00, it is accessing the code. It is reading the memory. So these status pins indicate the type of operation that is being performed by your processor. If all are 0, then your processor has an interrupt. If 001, it means that your processor is doing a read operation, read of input output operation. If 010, your processor is doing an write IO operation. If 011, your processor is in the halt state. If 100, your processor is accessing the code. If 101, your processing performing an memory read operation. 110, it indicates that the processor is performing the memory write operation. And if all are 1, it indicates that your processor is passive state. In the sense, it is not active. All are 1, your processor is in passive state. Okay. So S0, S1, S2. Then comes lock bar. Lock bar is like closing the door in the classroom. In the sense, no one is given access of the classroom. Okay. In the same way here also, lock bar indicates that the processor cannot give the system bus to any peripheral that is requesting to what we call system bus. It is locked. Okay. It is not given to any other peripheral because it is already used by some peripheral or whatsoever it is. Okay. Request and grant signal both are like hold and HLDA signal. Request in the sense hold, GT in the sense acknowledge. Okay. Grant and request. Request and grant. If any peripheral wants to access the system bus in the maximum mode configuration, it will send a signal Q. Okay, if the processor is willing to give the system bus, then it will send a signal GT. That is nothing but grant signal to that particular peripheral.